All right, Ultra Noops Nation, my name is Reed Nelson. This is Luke Hanlon. This is the Dream League Insider Recap Show. A lot of fun tonight. So, Generals versus the Polars in the opening game of the night. The Generals at times had comfortable leads, had an opportunity at the end of the game to tie it. Let's go through kind of what happened here. Miles Webb dribbling down the court, getting fouled intentionally. I think that would have been their sixth team foul or their fifth. Throws up a three. It looked like he might have gotten the continuation, but the ref did not give it to him, which is probably the right call. Yeah. The very next play, he gets an open look, misses it, rebounded by the Generals, put back up, missed. Luckily, someone with the presence of mind got it right back out. Oh, you said Brandon Johnson with the rebound?
Brandon Williams who got it back out?
Well, we're watching the replay now, so we'll let the replay talk for itself. Yeah. Back out to Miles Webb for a wide open look. I can't believe the clock hadn't expired, but he got the open look, in and out. Time expired. Generals lose. They go to 1-5 on the season. Talk about this opening game.
It made kind of no sense. I think it was the best game we've seen so far this season. And I say no sense because everyone was shooting their lights off. I mean, it was insane. Miles Webb all season really can't shoot threes. He's been taking bad shots. He was going crazy this game. Tony DeBauer went.
He had 38 points on 7 of 13 threes, I want to say, Miles Webb was.
Okay, and I think DeBauer had at least 6, possibly 7 threes, and he's been on and off again with behind the three-point arc. There were times in this game where it would go back and forth, 3, 3, 3, 3. I mean, it was just insane. It looked like a Warriors game. It was a lot of fun to watch. Really poor team defense on both sides, I'll say. But overall, it's hard. I mean, obviously the Polars are the better team, and overall in the spectrum of things. But today, I honestly, if you were just watching this as a one matchup, you probably couldn't say much about that.
How do you bring Michael Thomas and Bronson Byrne back into the fold, but still play as effectively as you did tonight? Basically small ball. Yeah. How do you do that for the remainder of the season?
They have to use their post-up game a lot more efficiently, space people out when they're in the post. If Michael Thomas is down and posting someone up, if they bring a double, you have to make sure you can swing the ball out, possibly get it right back into him instead of swinging it around the arc, stuff like that. Open up a one-on-one game for Michael Thomas. If no one wants to come and double him, then it's going to be hard for them to really find spacing like they had tonight. Miles, if he continues to play this way, they could be up in the playoffs pretty easily. I mean, we saw it tonight. He looked like the number 1 overall pick. I'd like to see them use some pick and roll possibly, but I don't think having Bronson and Michael on the floor at the same time really gives them that much offensive firepower.
They are now 3 games. The Generals are now 3 games behind the Mustangs and the Polars at 4-2. I believe the Polars are 4-2. Mustangs are also 4-2. Generals in that 5th spot at 1-5. So this was a tough night for the Generals, but all is not lost for them. I believe that after their performance tonight, anything could happen. So Brandon Williams, 4 blocks in the first 15 minutes, 5 total, just playing out of his mind. It was awesome to see. Even Trey Woodhouse got in 4 rebounds, 1 of 1 shooting. He had a couple blocks as well. So it was a great night for him also. Second game of the night, Pilots, who look like they were going to give the Griffins their first win. So Andrew Warbleski out, John Christensen out, Randall Padua in, Greg Wells in. Is Greg Wells on this team for the rest of the season?
He should be. I don't know. I mean, Izzy wasn't here today. Hopefully he'll be able to listen.
But Seth was.
Yes, exactly. So Seth was here. Seth will be able to tell Izzy, hey, Greg had a really good game. I think it makes sense for keeping him. He was very good offensively, knew what to do, knew what shots to take, would attack the basket, really attacked their zone, was a big reason why they were able to penetrate the zone. Troy Martin, again, came up big late. He was really inside their zone a lot. Seth wasn't shooting them out of his zone like he did against the Polars. I thought the Griffins matched up well with the Pilots defensively, but just, again, not enough to win.
So the Griffins, without Stephen Griffin, who was on hand to watch tonight. Ross Winnikin's out tonight as well. Travis Johnson out tonight. Lots of players out tonight with injuries. Are they a better team with Terrell Gould? And this is not to mention the Omar DeJuan Grant fiasco that happened after the game, which I have some insight on. Is this a better team with Terrell Gould? Terrell Gould showed flashes, but he's just a solid player.
Yeah. I mean, Terrell had a few bad shots offensively. It wasn't becoming a big problem, but they still were wasted possessions. We saw Stephen Griffin wasted possessions on offense for him, so I think the trade-off really wasn't that much of a difference. I think the biggest difference was DeAndre Agee was attacking the basket, still took some bad shots, as we saw, but he was much better this week. James Mobley's first half was much better, and then it kind of fell apart for him in the second half. Omar was a lot better. Overall, we didn't see those big -6 kind of PPR games, and that's really what made the difference for the Griffins. But then again, they still can't beat the Pilots.
I think James Mobley was 5 of 14 from beyond the arc. And the funny thing is I only saw the 9 misses. So every time I look up, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But apparently he made like his first 4 threes or something.
Well, early in the game, he was draining, and a few of them, I mean, they were within the offense. They looked like pretty good shots. One or two was bad, but he still made them. But then once he made those, he got some pretty big confidence in himself, which I can't blame him for. But once you miss 2 or 3 in a row after just bad contested shots, he's got to learn to stop shooting.
Yeah, no, I think Greg Wells has a spot on this team for the rest of the season. What does that mean for an Andrew Warbleski or a Peyton Dixon? We'll see. Either one of those two could be released, and he could be brought in. I'm not saying they're going to do that at all. I'm just saying, what does it mean? Omar, DeJuan Grant screaming at each other after the game. I spoke to a Griffin that would like to remain nameless, who basically said, we're trying to be positive. We're trying to say, hey, good this, good that, good this. Omar comes into the huddle at the end of the game. This was not DeJuan Grant who told me this, mind you. This was somebody else. And negative. It was your fault. I'm the best player on this team, yada, yada, yada. I said on the podcast on Thursday, I will not pick them as long as Omar's on this team. Mm-hmm. Is he not on this team next week at this time? Or tomorrow at this time?
Well, I mean, someone's going to have to relay the message back to Casey. I don't know who that's going to be. It could be multiple players, but if you're going to feud with a teammate like that, and your whole team pretty much, because we see it throughout their game after made baskets and stuff, Omar's placing the blame on everyone else, doesn't seem to take any blame himself. Yeah, I don't see any place for him on this team. He doesn't seem to run the offense the way they need it to run. He was, like I said, on the court he was better this week, but if you're going to have that kind of feud with a teammate, he shouldn't be on a team like this.
No comment on this game. We'll talk more about it during the podcast. Okay, Mustangs beat the Knights. Knights lose tonight. They're 5-1 on the season. Mustangs go to 4-2. Jake Gave had one heck of a time trying to get into the lane. He's running into Curtis Hughes. He's running into Glenn Fair. He's running into Mike Franklin. He's running into Dustin DuPont. Big guys. Talk about, it just looked like the Knights were just off their game. Was it all Travis Johnson, or did the Mustangs deserve a lot of credit?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I will say it's a big part because Travis Johnson wasn't here. He's like their on-court coach. He runs the defense. He runs the offense. We see Jake a lot on the court. He's great playing point, essentially. But Travis is kind of the guy in the huddles and stuff that will kind of draw up what they do on both defense and offense. So that's a big part of this, but the Mustangs deserve a lot of credit. I know John Goodrich came up to me after the game and said, okay, on the podcast, you're going to be like, oh, Travis wasn't here. It's a fluke. But I'll give the Mustangs credit. They were, like you said, they were physical. They beat the Knights up, which is what you need to do probably to beat them. They threw Aaron Lukic off his game. He looked like he had some shaken confidence, and overall, I'm not going to say, they're the better team, but tonight they definitely were. Like I said, more physical, and they deserve the win.
Well, they're 4-2. I mean, it's not like they're a 1-5 team. So it's, it definitely helped that Travis Johnson wasn't there, but it's not the Knights without Travis Johnson can beat 4 teams in this league, no problem. They can't beat the Mustangs, no problem. So overall, great night. Any other final thoughts? I mean, that Miles Webb 3 was just, I think at least half the ball was under the rim, if not more.
I thought when he put it up, it was some kind of divine intervention because, like you said, I thought there was no way they had enough time to do all that after a missed shot, albeit, I mean, it's just a shame it didn't go in because overtime would have been great. It would have been great to see that after the performance the Generals put in, but, what are you going to do?
On paper, tonight looked like it would be relatively boring. We darn near picked all 3 games wrong. Yeah. The Mustangs won, obviously. The Generals had a lead. The Griffins had a lead. So we'll talk all about it on the podcast this week. So
I'll be there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you on Friday. We'll see you next Monday.